last 24 hours was very much volatile in the markets. The CPI came in and the price moved back up. So prior to that, we saw a long wick to the downside in Bitcoin, reaching close to 65,700 range. That's a long wick. If you look at XRP, the price came down to 0.45 a few days back, and the retest now is finding support at this trend line, which we plotted yesterday and discussed. This is actually a positive sign that we are finding support at this trend line, meaning some buyers are entering into this asset. One of the primary reasons for that is that news cycle is strong. XRP Ledger is getting a lot of news. The current affairs for this asset is increasingly becoming bullish. That's a strong thing as we start. And the general sentiment in the market is also turning. Ether, if you look at this, it shows positive things. So that's the largest outflow for Ether. That's like 300,000 Ether moving out of an exchange. So they're not looking to sell, rather they are buying to hold. So if you do think about how things are evolving with the central banks, the CBDCs, and what you just saw in Russia, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, the world is now multipolar and it's actually just increasingly negative. But for us, XRP Ledger and its interoperability protocols can provide some mechanism here. And the value transfer is what's going to kick off a big move. But the market and its sentiment is so important, and we'll have to look through that. If you're looking at this Bitcoin dominance chart, that does deliver a ton of value because it shows you history is in fact repeating itself. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. How many of you actually remember this chart for AKT? This is Jan this year, and I was saying, okay, watch, this is slowly pushing to the upside. We may see this run to the upside. Afterwards, in April, when it actually reached that territory, I told you guys, okay, now the price has actually dropped 50%, but we may still push back higher and then show a double top and slow down, come back down to this price range. If you take that asset right now and look at what it's doing, it's almost the same trend line, the same price formation, the same price structure, and it did drop to the same support. You look at the price, you're like, okay, the price is going up. The RSI is not. So last time this happened, you know where that came in. So you kind of get a feeling of where the market is. That market cycle perspective should be held and compared with a lot of different assets. When you see some of these bouncing 10, 20, 30% for the day, you need to ask, why are they doing that? What the hell is different in that particular asset? That's important, right? So if you bring all of those into the market and see where the money is moving, you'll actually get decent perspective. But if you're looking at the general market in terms of opportunities, Scientific Investor family has the value you need. 1,000+ members are readily taking benefit of all these calls. You don't just drop a call. I drop the charts based on my thought process, then follow it up. Maybe a month, 2, 3, but you get to see how that's evolving, whether that's going against me, whether that's going towards the exact same direction, just like this. So if you want to join the Scientific Investor family, use the link in the description below in YouTube or in the bio of Twitter. And I would like to thank each and every one of you who is smashing that like button in the last video. Now let's see if this video we can try and push it up about 300 likes. Now let's continue into the video and see what the market is actually showing you. This is XRP on a daily. You are at that trend line support. You are trying to bounce off. But this previous range of support need to be strong. You plot a trend line within that support range and you're like, okay, we broke that to the downside. So this is XRP on a 3-day showing you we're at the bottom range of that support zone. If you bounce off from there, just like what you have done in Jan 2023 towards this rally in April 2023, can we repeat that? Not sure, but the structure of you going down and doing this, which is like an inverted head and shoulder pattern, it does look like, okay, there is a possible move which the market can actually pull off. But we'll have to see. And for that reason, you'll have to step back into the weekly and ask, is the momentum shifting? Are we trying to go back up? Are we pushing back up? Are we making a double bottom? There is a huge possibility that Bitcoin is now trying to put in this double bottom. But for that, the confirmation will come when you break the range. So the range will be broken to the upside around 0.56, where these wicks will be taken out and it grows higher. The trend line will be broken when the price actually moves above 0.53 itself. So you start to become a little bit more bullish and aggressive in XRP when the price breaks 0.52, 0.55 range. That's a positive indicator. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, on a 3-day chart, you're now starting to form a negative structure. I'll explain. Say on a daily, this looks really good because you're forming an inverted hammer after the price dropped from $72,000 to the downside, around 65. So on the daily, that's bullish, but when you zoom out on a weekly or a 3-day, it starts showing you most likely it's forming a hanging man. Remember, we talked about the hanging man in Ether while it was playing this one out, I think on a 3-day chart, and it did play out. Yes, it took few candles, 3-4 candles, before the price actually dropped. So your amount of patience is going to be tested. Remember, when you had the exact opposite of this, what happened? One candle showed you a reversal, inverted hammer at the bottom, and the price went up. Now you have the exact opposite, which is the hanging man, and then the price dropped. So you come here on Bitcoin, and this is a weekly, not a 3-day, which is a higher time frame structure. That's now putting an argument that I'm making hanging man candle on a weekly if the weekly closes below almost, say, $70,000. That's negative for Bitcoin, which shows you may come back down to 60,000, 61,000. We'll have to see if there is an invalidation and all, but as of now, it doesn't show you that. What you should be looking at is this range, because if it come back down to this range and bounces, that's a very much bullish argument by the market, because you still remain above the all-time highs range and you're bouncing off after making a new accumulation range. Say you take that into the Bitcoin dominant side, and this is the exact same story. You broke this trend line, which was a long-term trend line. The market started turning bullish. Then you retested that and got rejected. That's exactly where you started watching a lot of random altcoins popping. Then you came back to the short-term pattern and you broke that to the downside. That's where you saw way more medium caps starting to run higher. The moment you broke the moving average and started dropping, that's where you started watching the large caps popping. Now bring all of those into the current scenario, this is what you're watching. You broke down. So the step 1 is done. Then you went up to the retest. You went up to the retest. Clear. You got rejected. You got rejected. Perfect. So till that point, everything looks beautiful. Now, if you see this as a 3 candle continuation, which is the rising 3 on the other hand, here we are looking for the bearish candle. So it's going to be a dropping 3. So 1, 2 as a retest and then a continuation pattern. So that's where you should most likely see a lot more small to medium caps bursting. By the time you enter here with this level of support, 50.95, say 51, as Bitcoin dominance break that level, you should be able to see medium to large caps starting to pop. By the time this breaks, that should be the FOMO in almost every coin, and some of these coins which doesn't even have some name or utility will be popping through the roof. So most of us in the market would be able to ride this because that's getting so close. Even if it's just going to be a couple of weeks, break to the downside, staying there for a couple more, then continuing down, that's literally next 30 days, next 45 days, where you are going to see random alts going through the roof. Now, bring that into the Ether side of things, because it's actually very interesting when you're on the Ether on a 3-day or a weekly. Because when you do plot your trend line, it puts the argument that you had a fake out to the downside here, right? That's perfect. Because usually what happens is it starts the new structure. If that's true, then the wave 1 is what we just saw. Okay, what's the textbook pattern? You put 2 to 3 times wave 1 and you get wave 2. So that's like 80% to the upside towards 120, which would mean you're talking about $6,000 Ether towards $7,500 Ether for wave 2 here, which should look like this. You burst, then you go. Now, within this one, you'll again see the micro 1, 2, 3 structure. If you're not worried about those micro fluctuation, neglect that. It's completely fine. But the idea that this asset is about to go up here means the market cap should go up like that in the altcoin side. So the altcoin market going up 200%, that's a huge move in the market. What do I mean? Because if you actually take in the idea that the altcoin market is about to follow what Ether is doing, then if not 180, you'll at least see 150. So that's going to be somewhat like here at $2.5 trillion just in the altcoin market. And Bitcoin maybe at that time, maybe 50, 49, 48%, which is still close to $2.3, $2.4 trillion. So that's about $5 trillion. And you're just going to the FOMO area. That's where the euphoria comes in. That's where the price discovery goes nuts. Which means from that 5, you can literally go to 7, 8, 9, 10 trillion dollars. 8 to 10 trillion dollars in the crypto market will be nothing because it's market cap we're talking, not the actual amount of money. Now, you come back here in the crypto market and you're picking up the altcoins on a weekly chart. Do you see something the price is telling you? On a weekly chart, you're now watching 1 candle to the upside and then 3 candles to the downside to test the same range, which is in fact just testing the moving average. And as we know, historically speaking, when you're above the moving average, you are trending higher. Each time you come close to the moving average, that's a huge buying opportunity. Anyone who used that made money until you reach a blow-off range, until you reach the negative divergence side. And once you reach there, okay, now you're not looking at that. You don't want to participate in that. Because at that point, when the negative divergence is already confirmed, which would be here at the first point, you don't want to participate anywhere else. any retracement, you're pulling out of the market, not buying more. So right now, it shows you may still have few months, which is good, which is perfect. The whales have played their part in delaying this 2-3 months. Great. So if you were new, you didn't have the liquidity. Now you got more time and 20, 30, 40% drops in between. The weekly moving average is still pointing you to the upside. The 3-day moving average is now saturated, but the price is above it, which means it's trying to pull it to the upside. Question, however, remains which direction the daily goes. So the daily should start turning back up. It's now consolidating, which is good, but the price is below that. So the total market needs to push back above $1.12 trillion. So if you see $1.15, $1.2 trillion, that's good. Now your moving average should go back up. So waiting for a reversal on at least daily is important, but looking for the signal on a 4-hour chart can give you some opportunity. When the moving average is broken on a 4-hour and it makes it as a support and bounces, fine, the moving average is about to follow that, and soon daily will actually get to that. So remember, you will actually see a lot of opportunities in front of you in this market, and don't be afraid. Understand the macro structure. See, if you're looking at some of these assets, say you pull up LPT, which is up like 30% for the day, you actually had my call before that. Fine. But if you look at this, what do you see here? That's just a micro move. Now we zoom out, and what the hell do you see here? That's exactly what I want to argue. If you are here in the market and you're watching that this asset showed you rounded bottom pattern formation, which came from June 2022, and it's valid even till this point. And then you had an accumulation range which was broken to the upside, retested and bounced. Now what you have in front of you is a reaccumulation range. If you break that zone and you're entering to the upside, that's nuts. That's FOMO season. We already saw very small, micro, medium cap assets doing that. So if you start to see medium to large caps doing that, that's the right time to be in the market. So if you are here, you are new, great, you are lucky. You didn't go through all the chops which we went through. But the moment you see the weekly RSI entering here, understand the FOMO has begun. And that's medium to large cap assets we are talking. So it won't just be one asset doing that. There would be a set of assets, highly correlated assets. If you want to get those information, follow the SI family where 1,000+ members are readily taking benefits of everything I post there. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. Let's see if we can push that likes above 300 this video. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.